Hey, so you guys remember this video from a while back? Damn, I've been at this for a while, huh? Well, it's been a while, so I wanted to do a new version of this type of video. This time, we'll be making the best lineup of every element in Star Rail. The restrictions in this video are pretty self-explanatory, thankfully, so there isn't much else to go over. I will once again be making these teams in the context of, dear god, anything besides pure fiction. The game mode is simply dominated by far different characters in most cases, and both Apocalyptic Shadow and MOC are less AoE focused, so it makes it a bit easier to focus on teams that apply to both game modes. Fun fact for you all, this video was originally written in version 2.7, and I'm revising it today. So much has changed since then, including who I know. Helping me out today will be the owners of the Quantum Only Challenge account, and the owner of the Fire Only, Wind Only, and Ice Only challenge accounts. You may know them as Cthulhu and Kaneki. All their links will be in the description, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all three of us. And without further ado, I really hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so I have no specific way to order this, so we're gonna start off with physical. I've stated it before, but physical has some really bad characters, and some very good ones. The problem is, many of them couldn't actually work together until the release of Amphorius. That's not good. Think about it. One of the best characters in physical is Boothill. Boothill is insanely powerful, being one of the best boss killers in the entire game. However, he also has absolutely zero support in physical. No one can action advance him consistently, no one increases his break effect or weakness break efficiency, he doesn't even have something like defense reduction to make that break damage more impactful. He's a good character on his own, but he is absolutely gonna be useless with this supporting cast. Luckily, Physical received a pretty nice buff in recent updates, and his name is Finon. Finon is incredibly good, and the nice part about him, he offers a lot of freedom in team building if you're willing to sacrifice just a little efficiency. Considering we have very few options here, that's a sacrifice I have to make to even get a coherent team for Physical. The best team we can construct here is Finon, Hanya, Robin, and Danheng PT. All of these choices are pretty self-explanatory, but let's go over them. Danheng PT is going to be a better sustain than Natasha, and offers more to Finon specifically, I feel. Robin is one of the best general supports in the game, so that was an easy choice. She'll be making up for a lot of the damage we'll be missing out on by not having those most ideal teammates like a Sunday or a Bronya. As for Hanya, I gotta be honest, she's here because nobody else in physical works. I'm not putting Luca or Su Shang, the Trailblazer sucks, Boothill doesn't match this team, and Argenti, Clara, and Yoon Lee just don't make much sense. It's better to just take what Hanya gives you, and hope that whatever god or science you believe in can get you to the finish line of most fights. Physical, when I first wanted to make this list, was one of the most underwhelming elements in the entire game. To see the glow up of having a coherent and somewhat decent team is absolutely awesome. So there's a funny thing about our next element. This took me so long to make, the element actually got a lot better. I never thought I would see the day. So let's talk about Quantum. Quantum has been poor for a very long time, but has seen a major resurgence with Castris, Tribby, and Archer entering the fray. These characters have been a godsend for a certain YouTuber. Let's bring on Cthulhu to talk about what he thinks is the best team for Quantum Only.
Alright, so let's start. Alright, hello everybody, welcome to Quantum Only Best Team Rundown. Today, we are going to go through Archer, Castris, Cypher, Scylla, all the Quantum.
Alright, so everybody welcome into the Quantum Only section of the video, and today we got none other than... Introduce yourself.
Yeah!
Yep,
Yeah!
that's his name!
Hello, I'm Cthulhu, or Catch, probably Catch, and I have a mono quantum account, a mono quantum account. I've been playing for 6.5 months now, I think. And yeah, it's been pretty fun. It's been pretty cool. So I think I'm pretty knowledged on the quantum characters.
If you want somebody who's actually good at the game, or you want somebody who doesn't yap for all the videos, this is where you should go to. And then chilling in the call, we also have Kaneki. Hi, Kaneki.
Yeah.
What? I'm not here.
All right, so let's get into it a little bit then. So the main thing I want to hear about is like kind of the struggles of quantum-only accounts, and then the best teams that you're able to make with the available characters, because with a lot of the other elements, sometimes you get really, really good synergy super easily, which would be like you end up with, well, Super Break is actually a good synergy. The problem is Super Break sucks right now. Or you end up with like the Herda and Mini Herda both in ice. So that's already a good pairing off rip. So let's hear a bit about that.
The Herta. Yeah, you get like Mini Herta, the Herta, and Remembrance MC, which is kind of insane.
It's broken, dude.
Insane.
Look at this farmer in the bottom. Look at that farmer with his goddamn ice account. Unbelievable.
Okay, we're gonna talk about how good Ice Only is, but we're not gonna talk about like Archer and Sparkle.
Whoa.
Like hello.
Whoa. All right, well, that's a good segue. Let's talk about Archer and Sparkle.
Yep.
Honestly, it's like, okay, so I started my Quantum Only account with Castrus in 3.2, right? 3.2 is it? At that point, you didn't know that Archer was gonna be free. So it literally landed in my lap. Like free Archer Lycone, plus Sparkle Rerun at the same time, which is insane, by the way. And they work perfectly with each other, both Quantum. And then Archer's like nearly best team is Mono Quantum. So it is kind of an insane synergy, and it probably is the best synergy that you have for all of these Mono Quantum accounts. Maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, I think the only one that tops Archer Sparkle is a Naxos Aridra.
I would agree with that. I think a Nexus Aridra is probably the best pairing you can get right now. But that's the thing, Sparkle Archer is unbelievably high up.
It is. And one of the biggest struggles, oh my god, bruh. Why is Fu Shen on the 50-50 loss banner? Why? There's a big sustain issue. I would say the number one problem with Quantum Only is that there is a huge sustain issue. I would say that Lynx works with casters, right? Like you can probably say Lynx works with casters. But when you think of how strong Castrus is, you're usually thinking of her with Gallagher and especially Hyacinth, right? So you know, like this tier 0 god monster Castrus tier 0 unit?
Yeah.
She kind of goes down to like tier 1.5 or tier 2 without Gallagher and Hyacinth. Like honestly. Like, do you think you would agree? Would you agree?
One of the biggest drop-offs in his... Okay, so the video will be out. The video will already be out by then, but I struggled to clear Anomaly Arbitration at all because I have an entire premium casters team, but I do not have Hysolins. I have Gallagher, and that was enough to make it so that I cannot clear, when the only other difference between people clearing and me was, not Hysolin, sorry, Hyacinth. That was the only difference. I had to go Super Saiyan to get a 10 AV clear when I was using Gallagher with that team.
It actually is currently Honkai Hyacinth Rail. It actually is Hyacinth Rail right now. And it's especially for casters. So in that sense, I would say that the best team on Quantum Only is probably a premium Archer team.
Yeah.
With either Silverwolf or Cypher, and Fu Shen as the supports, as a healer.
Okay, that definitely adds up with what I expected.
Like what did you expect? Like what's like the best combination for you?
So that's the thing, is that whenever I was initially planning this video, I'm like, okay, there are two main characters that you can kind of work with on Quantum specifically. You're gonna have Archer, and then you're gonna have Castrus. Castrus, really good. Plus, you get one of her best supports, which is Tribby. So you get those two off rip. You have a solid core there. And you can even add in Cypher. Cypher, Tribby, Castrus was a really, really good combination of characters for a little bit.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not having a true healer that can keep up with that is actually such a detriment. It's not even funny.
However less strong you think Castrus is without Hyacinth or Gallagher, it's even more than what you think initially when you watch it.
To be fair, okay, actually, hold on. Let me end this recording real quick. So, all right, thank you for your input.
What if we're still talking about? Just segment it. Start a new one.
Nah.
What if we pull?
What if we fall? All right, now we're cutting it. We're cutting it.
That's real.
We're cutting it. All right, so all right, me and editing, get this part right here. All right, thank you, Catch. On to the next element. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, anyway. Going from one of the biggest punching bags in the game to being a highly competitive team that ranks in the higher parts of the list, yeah, Quantum has had a spectacular resurgence. You get it? Can we talk about how stacked Fire has become? Yes, viewers, this was in fact the real line that started off this paragraph in version 2.7. Now, almost an entire version without a Fire character later, Fire is no longer the juggernaut it used to be. It makes me very sad as well, since some of my favorite characters in the game are Fire characters. If you don't want to listen to me though, how about we cut to my talk with Kaneki about a Fire-only team, and how exactly Fire ended up so goddamn weak. Anyway, we should probably
it's more of just probably like
I'm realizing we
probably should actually get to it. Okay,
anyway,
okay.
Fire only. All right, yeah. So.
Oh, we're starting with the Doomer, dodge.
Yeah, I'm
shit.
sorry to break out the depression first, but that is unfortunately what comes up. Wind is like the second to last segment, so that's unfortunate. Let me think of gotta get into the zone real quick and give the quick intro. So. All right, everybody, we are now going to talk about Fire only, and with me today, we have the owner of the biggest Fire only account on YouTube. We have, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kaneki.
We love Kaneki, chat. You somehow managed to like 3-star MOC 10 without an 8th character on Wind. Is that what it was?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, you don't even really need 8 characters. It's fine.
When Hyzen's one of the characters, I do believe that. All right. All right.
Don't. It was so painful. Don't.
All right. So let's talk about it a little bit. What do you think is like the best account you can make with specifically Fire only characters? I'm going to be honest. If we did this video when I was initially planning, Fire was honestly in a great spot. And Fire has now gone basically the entirety of Amphorius without an update, so...
Yeah, Fire was looking so good at the end of 2.x.
Mm-hmm.
and now we've seen like the biggest drop-off I think I've ever seen of characters. I mean, the second team was never really that good. I'll talk about the second team in a second. But in 2.x, the Fire... like premium team was nuts. I mean, we're talking about Fugue, Firefly, Ling Sha, and then it's your choice of Himiko or Asta, depending on what you want.
Yeah.
Right. And those are all characters that work incredibly well with Super Break. And Super Break was like the main thing back then, right? And it's a really good team. I mean, you have obviously Fugue enables Super Break, which is having Firefly's main mechanic be able to be activated within the same element is kind of crazy, considering before that it was only Imaginary Trailblazer.
Genuinely might be one of the biggest saves in the history of an element.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. It was like the most insane thing I've ever seen to that point. It was crazy for me. And that team does genuinely perform pretty well. I mean, it's still like, kind of decent. It can work still. Fire Only's biggest problem, the problem with the account really, is that when you have those 4 characters occupied on one team, what do you use for the second? Because, I mean, if you look at all the Fire characters, you look at that second team, you have Jiao Cho, you have Topaz, and then you have, like, Guinai Fen and Hook. And Preservation Trailblazer. It's like, and Gallagher, I guess. Gallagher's a good healer, but
Gallagher's the best character left.
let's be honest, they're not doing damage. Like, they're not doing damage. Topaz caps out at like 70k with like a perfect build. It's so sad.
Yep. Yeah.
And we haven't gotten anything in 3.x. Nothing. Almost a full year, nothing. No lifeline, no remembrance character, no new mechanic. We don't even really benefit from like High Sealand's dot changes, even though there's 2 dot characters. There's just nothing. It's just disappointing.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is fire only.
That's fire only. Disappointment only.
Literally. Anyway, long story short, fire isn't too powerful nowadays, and is waiting on its next great character to resurrect it from the dead. Shockingly, this isn't the worst we'll have today. So before sending you all to the depths of hell, let's talk about Ice. Ice has been interesting, historically. Before the arrival of the Herda, and now Evernight, the last Ice character you could pull for was Misha. Many of Ice's greatest characters were also released early in the game's lifespan, with Pela and Jingliu both being early 1.x. That is genuinely a bit sad. For a while, it felt like these people over at Hoyo just hated Ice for some reason. Like, is it just cold over there? I don't know what the temperature is like, but if it ain't the Midwest, it can't be that bad, I feel like. At least, it can't be bad enough to have a grudge like this. I digress, though. Ice was in a bad spot for a while, but has finally surged over the course of version 3.x. The Herda, RMC, Evernight, and soon Cyrene have turned Ice into a far more formidable element than it ever was before. The biggest problem with the element right now is that the characters just don't work together too well. Lots of different archetypes here with very little overlap. While I'm a huge Evernight fan, she has no healers, so that talk ends there. Same with Jingliu. Even with these limitations though, I still feel like we can make a pretty solid team. The Herda is one of the best Ice DPS in the game right now, so if her is the head of our team, we have a lot of potential to work with. There is one caveat. When using the Herda, it's basically required you have another erudition DPS alongside her. This is because it activates one of her primary traces that increases all allies' crit damage by a whopping 80%. Luckily, to fill that role, we have Small Herda. So if our 2 erudition DPS set, we now need some sort of support to help out. Ice gives us 3 solid options for this. We have Ron May, Pela, and RMC. While Pela is a solid character overall, I personally feel she just doesn't hold the same value as the other 2 characters. Therefore, we'll be excluding her from this talk. As for Ron May and RMC, I want to make it clear that both of these characters are extremely good and useful. Both have different scenarios they thrive in, and the MC increasing crit stats and giving true damage is unbelievably nice. I do personally like Ron May a lot, but with the action advance of the Trailblazer and Herda's constant need to get energy and her enhanced attack, he may just be the better pick here. The overall damage and speed boost by Ron May is still a value, obviously, but considering Break may not always even be an option, her kit will lose some of its usefulness even with the Res Pen bonus from her ultimate. I do think it's very close, and if you only have one built, that should still be perfectly fine. But also, if you don't have RMC built, what are you doing? Honestly, something funny to think about is that Ice has such good supports that you can actually kind of fight over who to use. Now if only that applied to the sustains. Yes, we move on to the sustains for Ice, and they're not great. We only have Japard and March as options. Both are preservation, and both are painfully mid. I'm gonna be honest, it truly doesn't matter who you use here. Both are not gonna be great for the Herda in any way. I would say Japard just so you can get shields on your whole party, but if you really like March, go for it. At least you can see her pretty alternate outfit, right? It's sad that that's the best part about Preservation March now. Thank God we have Evernight. Also, as a quick ending note, I know Cyrene could possibly change a lot for this specific part of the list. I just don't think it's enough to really warrant including her here. I am making this when she is not released yet, and if I wait to make this video again, I am going to commit vehicular manslaughter. Let's now move on to Lightning, which I have very bad news about. Lightning sucks. Like the Detroit Pistons losing 28 in a row sucks. Obviously, Acheron exists, and so does Aglaya, both powerful characters with a lot going for them. The problem is, their best supports are not Lightning characters. Lightning also severely lacks good supports or sub-DPS options for many of those main teams. Kafka exists here as well, but the only character that could actually help her as a DOT is Serval, and Serval is not very good. The best options here left over are Moz, Tingyun, Jingyuan, and Bailu as the only sustain option. That's rough. In terms of a best team, oh boy. Let's say we start with Acheron. A team for her could maybe have Kafka as well, even though she's far from the best Nihility partner. We could maybe do Serval to help contribute debuffs for both of them to profit off of, I guess? And again, we have Bailu, who, yeah. We almost have a good framework for Aglaya with Ting Yun to contribute energy recharge, but who would the other partner even be? No one else helps Aglaya in any meaningful way from there. It's the same thing with Jing Yuan. He has Ting Yun to help, but who else? Moz? Maybe Serval again? Yeah, Lightning is cooked, y'all, I gotta be honest. We're gonna stop here and say the Acheron team is the best of this segment, but genuinely, this team sounds so awful. Please, for the love of God, do not test this. I don't say that often, but yeah, please don't bother testing this. I value the sanity of my viewers a little bit more than that. So, Wind. That's an element. And, it is way better than Lightning. Wind over time has received characters constantly, and as a result of that, has one of the most largest and most stacked pools to pull from in this current day and age. I don't know why the devs started liking Wind so much in Amphorius, but hey, I doubt Kaneki is complaining. Let's jump to that talk to see what Wind has to offer. Do you like Nintendogs?
I've never played Nintendogs.
Okay, so you're gonna have a hell of a time.
I've heard it's like Uma Musume.
I've never played Uma Musume. Alright, so this feels like
anyway, let's this
is the boomer versus zoomer discussion of all time. Have you played Nintendogs? No. Have you played Uma Musume? No. I'm leaving that part in the video.
Dude.
Alright, so anyway.
How was that? Whatever.
My audience will love it, I promise you. Alright, so, welcome back Kaneki, everybody, and this time we're going to be talking about Wind only. So, obviously this one is quite a bit better than your other elements, unfortunately. Or your other two elements.
Miles better.
Miles better. Yeah, that's a poor fireman. But yeah, so, let's hear a bit about, like, what you think their best team is and why it works compared with other options.
So, I think it's actually pretty obvious, in my opinion, what the best team for Wind Element is. Yeah. Obviously, it's going to be Anaxa, Saridra, Branya, and Hyacinth. And I mean, you just cannot, like, individually, it's pretty hard to beat those characters, except for Saridra, because she's, like, pretty specific. But together, they are a fantastic combo. I mean, just giving Anaxa, like, a ton of turns. And I mean, Hyacinth's just Hyacinth. Hyacinth really doesn't do anything special in that team, by the way. She's just Hyacinth. Like, but the rest of the team does not. The rest of the team does not really benefit specifically from Hyacinth over any other healer. But it's just Hyacinth.
Yeah, but Hyacinth being Hyacinth, whoo baby.
But Anaxa, Saridra, Branya is super fun to play and really, really overpowered. Like, you can just constantly advance Anaxa, constantly skill on him, especially if Branya E1. S1 Saridra means that skill points are like very rarely any sort of issue. Yeah. And you don't need to use any skill points on healing with Hyacinth because nobody takes any damage.
That's crazy. Fair.
And it is a different feeling to get 4 Anaxa skills in a row. And each one can do between like 300k and 500k. Like it's just he's different. He's just built different with Saridra. It's a perfect synergy, and they both just happen to sit within Wind.
That honestly might have been like the single, like that might have been one of the greatest blessings you could have had. You shouldn't pull for Black Swan on her next rerun.
Do it. She's so beautiful.
I love her so
much. At least she's not Rappa.
Oh. And on that note, all right, well, that wraps up the Wind only section, so thank you very much for commenting and helping on that. Oh my god. And yeah, all right, well, back to the video. So short answer, a lot. Wind is pretty good. With only one element left, we can now talk about Imaginary and its team, probably one of the more middle-of-the-road elements. It received a lot of characters in a short amount of time, but eventually died back down pretty quickly. Hopefully that means that another Imaginary character is coming out soon. The most recent DPS we have in Imaginary is Mighty, and as such, that means we're using him since he'll definitely be the best. He is going to be pretty strong to start with, and we actually have 2 good supports for him off rip. Sunday and Luocha are the characters we want alongside Mighty without a single shadow of a doubt. Mighty's whole goal to off himself ASAP with his skill set are gonna need a strong healer, and a Venturine can't exactly fulfill that. Sunday is an amazing character for any crit damage character, so of course we need him on the team as well. The last slot does get rough, unfortunately. Imaginary has a lot of great characters, but sadly very few have actual synergies with each other. We could technically make a Super Break Mighty for shits and giggles, but that probably wouldn't be the most helpful. Without anyone to enhance Mighty further, or shred enemy defense, we are gonna go for the most universal option available. Hey March, come on over. This team has a lot of potential with Sunday and Luocha backing Mighty, but March is simply not who we would want here in most cases. She holds her own at least and contributes some meaningful damage, as well as a speed boost for Mighty if you want to run a -1 setup without speed boots on him. That's something. It's not great, but still, a strong core does do a lot when we have something like lightning stinking up the place. There are of course 2 other teams that could easily be run with Imaginary, featuring Rappa and Dan Hung IL, but Mighty outclasses both of them pretty heavily in my opinion. If we were focusing on pure fiction, the Rappa team would be far more recommended, since Mighty can struggle with the amount of enemies there. That's a way more specific case though overall. The one thing we can all agree on though, is that Dan Hung is washed. God bless Dan Hung PT. With Imaginary done, we finally have the best team of every element completed. However, we can't just end the video there. Now, I want to do a ranking of which of these teams I think are the best and worst, starting from the bottom and working our way up. The teams are pretty hard to rank precisely without testing, so they're going to be grouped in different tiers. Starting with the absolute bottom tier, we have Lightning and a Lightning alone. While Lightning has a good character leading the way in Acheron, she simply doesn't have the support around her to really enhance her gameplay or strength at all. Kafka can't really do anything to add on debuffs besides like her follow-up attack, and Serval is the furthest thing from a debuffer that I can think of. There might be something you can do with like a super fast Serval constantly spamming ult, but I really doubt it. Salute Lightning, you did your best. In my next tier, we have Fire and Imaginary. Imaginary is definitely better in my opinion, but not enough to differentiate tier-wise. That's honestly really sad to think about considering Mighty could have been such an amazing character. He just had no support, and March Hunt can only help so much with what he wants to do. Now, above these 2 elements, we have Ice. Ice is a solid team overall that I think is just slightly underpowered compared to the absolute demons we have coming up. The Herda is still an incredible DPS, but has fallen off a bit in non-AoE content. This is also without her best support, and without a competent sustain option. Still, a solid showing for the element overall. Now we arrive at the final 3 elements: Wind, Quantum, and Physical. I will fully admit, Physical is getting hard carried by Finon. However, Finon is also one of the strongest characters in the game. He has enough of what he needs from this team to succeed in my opinion, but at the end of the day, he just can't get them over the finish line, landing Physical at 3rd place. This leaves us with Wind and Quantum. Wind and Quantum have by far the most complete teams out of the entire list, which is wild to say considering their placements when I originally wrote this list. Let's cut back to Koch and Kaneki and see who they decide as the winner of the best mono element team in Star Rail. This is actually something I do need from both of you that I'm remembering.
Our social security number?
Okay, well I guess, but... So the ending part of the video is me, like, picking a winner. So, out of these three, what do you think is the best overall team? Obviously, try and discard your biases, you know, because fun fact, Quantum and Wind are up there.
Okay, so the interesting thing about this is, remember how I said that I have been awake since 11 a.m. yesterday?
Yeah.
So like, I'm gonna need you to repeat basically all of that. By the way, are we talking like peak performance? Like,
yes, I think
okay.
so.
This
like
is
S1, I believe,
this is
right?
assuming
First?
E0
S1.
This is assuming that they are E0 S1 and being piloted to the best of their ability by like a person who does play them.
I would presume E0 S1 because if not S1, then all Remembrance characters gets a huge debuff.
Yeah, literally. They're actually chopped without light cones.
Well, I was wondering,
Yeah, like-
because I mean, it's. I honestly think it's a different conversation if we're talking about E2S1 because E0S1, I think this is pretty comfortably wind in my opinion.
Because that's the problem, is that the moment we bring up E2S1, Jesus fucking Christ, that's actually like that's like Looney Tunes level of insanity. That is a lot more to take into account.
It's also just like not really relatable to anyone at all.
Yeah, no, that's the other problem, is that like
Yeah.
yeah, let me just have E2S1 Hyacinth, E2S1 Anexa, E2S1 Ceredra with E2. Okay, E2 Bronya is possible, but
I mean, I literally
few
I did the
answers.
calcs pretty recently for E0S1
Mhm.
for almost that exact Anaxa team, and it was pretty insane.
The weird thing is, I feel like, okay, so my answer changes dependent on Eidolons. Yeah. Okay, so wait, you want my answers?
Yeah,
You
go
want to
ahead.
go like each person goes on their own? I'm done for that. I'm done for that. One
yeah,
by
go
one.
for it.
I have some pretty boring answers, but pretty varied answers. So for Wind and Quantum, I actually think these two teams perform pretty similarly and pretty damn well depending on the fight. And I think generally Archer would probably outperform in many fights that are like double elite or like one big boss plus one elite. But in my opinion, that all changes if Bronya has Eidolon 1. I think if Bronya has Eidolon 1, then Anaxa's being able to skill every single turn and not needing to worry at all makes it a huge difference. Because then your SP problems kind of like evaporate sometimes. But yeah, I think the problem is Silverwolf's S1 sucks. So like she actually doesn't have an S1 here. You know what I mean? like
Okay, you know what? For the purpose of this, we're gonna say best in slot light cone, because like Bronya would be working with a Sunday cone, and Silverwolf would be working with tutorial.
yeah, okay,
Like those are their
you could probably-
those are their actual S1s.
Yeah, I think Bronya can just be given her signature, and then Silverwolf can either be given like sweats or tutorial. You know, at max potential, I think Archer does win out in some fights, and then Anaxa wins out. I would say Anaxa actually wins out in I would say like the ratio is like 7-3 or 8-2, if Bronya has E1.
I do kind of agree with Catch. I would say Wind wins in a lot of scenarios. I'll say the skill points are really not nearly as much of an issue as you might think. Especially with like Ceredra S1, you get a free skill point every time you ult with her. She gets ult pretty fast. And Anaxa with S1 as well, and with both Bronya and Ceredra, just is extremely nuts. I would call him, like, that team easily more versatile, able to clear a lot more fights. I do think that in
I agree.
like single target, double target scenario, like Archer 100% clears faster. Yeah, basically just an Anaxa team is like more versatile, can do a little bit more wide range of things, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum it up, I think. The moment you've all been waiting for. This is your best element in Star Rail. With our ranking done, that ends the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this kind of sequel to the other lineup video. This took so long to make. Like, in the time it took me to make this video, I'm pretty sure I've gained 7,000 subscribers. I genuinely think that's about the amount. Jesus Christ. Anyway, this was a lot of fun to think about. As always, if you have any questions or thoughts, leave a comment down below and I'll try to answer. I really hope you guys enjoy. I got plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I will see you guys then. Bye-bye.
You know what's funny? All of this, even after dodging all of Honkai Star Rail's meta stuff, even in the mono element stuff, it still came down to Hyacinth. That's crazy.
That is true.
And
That's
that-
crazy.
And that's the welcome to Honkai Star Rail moment, chat. That's it right
Yeah.
there.
Honkai Hyacinth Rail. Pull her or die.